Hey guys, Everything NFL here, and today I am back with a brand new video going over the best pick of every single team in the 2020 NFL draft. And without any messing about, let's get into it. We are starting off with the AFC and then moving across to the NFC. With the New England Patriots, I believe their best pick in the draft was their 37th overall selection of Kyle Dugger. He's a safety out of Lenoir-Rhyne, a fantastic versatile safety coming out of a very small school in Lenoir-Rhyne. I think he's the highest picked player out of Lenoir-Rhyne ever. And I think Kyle Dugger is one of the best safeties in this class. I believe he is the second best safety in this class behind Xavier McKinney and then Grant Delpit at 3. And I think Kyle Dugger is going to be a phenomenal player for the New England Patriots for years to come to help replace Duron Harmon and an ageing Patrick Chung or eventually even Devin McCourty. I think the Patriots got a solid pick here with Kyle Dugger. And with the Buffalo Bills, the 54th overall pick, they selected AJ Epineza, a defensive end out of Iowa. His draft stock plummeted after a terrible showing at the NFL Combine, but I think he is a solid player who will help on that defensive line with Shaq Lawson and Ed Oliver, Star Lutulele, Harrison Phillips, etc. There's loads of players that this player pick is going to help, and I think he'll be a beast on that Buffalo defensive line. And moving on for the Jets, with the 11th overall pick, they selected Mekhi Becton, an offensive tackle out of Louisville, and I think he is a solid pick here. He's an absolute monster. I think he could be one of the best tackles in this class, and I think he is overall going to be the actual weapon on the offensive line. Will hold off the edge rushers, will hold off the pass, hold off everything, and will be Sam Darnold's blindside protector for years to come, and in my opinion, the Jets' best selection. And now moving on to my boys, the Miami Dolphins. We selected Tua Tagovailoa 5th overall out of Alabama. Fantastic pick, in my opinion, the quarterback with the highest ceiling in the entire class, and I think he will be an absolute monster for years to come for the Miami Dolphins. Drew Brees comparisons, I think he could be the quarterback that guides us back to the promised land of championships, division titles, etc. And I can't wait. Now moving on to the AFC North, the Baltimore Ravens, one of the best picks in this entire class, selected Patrick Queen at 28, a linebacker out of LSU. Solid pick, could have gone way earlier. For some reason, Kenneth Murray was taken higher by the Chargers, who traded up to 23 with the New England Patriots giving up a second and a third round pick to move up to 23 after they'd originally used the 6th overall pick on Justin Herbert. And I think Patrick Queen is he's one of my favourite players in college, and I think he's going to convert to being one of the best linebackers in the National Football League with the Baltimore Ravens, because it is the Baltimore Ravens. They are the best run organisation in the NFL, and I think he will be solid for them. Now moving on to the Pittsburgh Steelers, at number 49th overall, they took Chase Claypool, a wide receiver out of Notre Dame. I don't know too much about Chase Claypool. I watched a little bit of his tape leading up to the draft. For me, he looked like a second-round pick, but he's shown a lot of promise coming out of Notre Dame, and I think he could be a beast for when Ben Roethlisberger returns for the Pittsburgh Steelers to help alongside, I think it's James Washington and Juju Smith-Schuster. I think he will help a lot with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now moving on, at number 10, the Cleveland Browns selected Jedrick Wills, offensive tackle out of Alabama, was Tua Tagovailoa's blindside protector at Alabama, and I think he will be a solid option for Baker Mayfield, probably going to play left tackle to protect Baker Mayfield's blindside, while Jack Conklin plays on the right. Solid addition. Both tackle spots look like two of the best secured tackle spots in the National Football League after going into last season with probably the worst starting tackles in the NFL. And will the Browns finally be able to win? After all these years of failure, will the Cleveland Browns finally be able to succeed in the AFC North? It's going to be very competitive next season, which brings me on to the next pick. The Cincinnati Bengals, their best pick in this class was their 1st overall pick. They used it on Joe Burrow, a quarterback out of LSU. 60 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, over 5,000 yards for LSU last year, guiding them to a national championship. And I think he was the prime number 1 pick in this class. He was always going to go number 1. And the Bengals have finally got their franchise quarterback to help them go back to the playoffs. It depends if they're determined and focused on actually winning, then Joe Burrow will succeed an absolute ton in this Cincinnati Bengals offense. Now moving on to the AFC South, with the 40th overall pick, the Houston Texans selected Ross Blacklock. I think this is a fantastic option out of TCU. Was great defensive tackle. I think I had him graded as a first rounder, and to get him at 40 is amazing. and he's probably one of the best defensive tackles in this class. I think had him pegged at number 3 for defensive tackles, and he will instantly replace DJ Reader, who is now with the Cincinnati Bengals, I want to say. So he will help replace him on the defensive line. And for the Tennessee Titans, I could have put Isaiah Wilson at their offensive tackle here out of Georgia, but I didn't. I went with their 61st overall pick. They selected Christian Fulton, a cornerback out of LSU. He will replace Logan Ryan, who is still an active free agent, which I can't believe a team hasn't picked up on Logan Ryan yet and brought him onto their team. So I think this is a solid option. I had him going in the first round. I had him mocked as a first round talent, and to pick him here at 61 is unreal value for the Tennessee Titans. And for the Indianapolis Colts at 34, this was a toss up for me, but I went with Michael Pittman Jr., a wide receiver out of USC. I think he could have easily snuck into the bottom of the first round, for where the San Francisco 49ers selected Brandon Ayuk out of Arizona State, and I think Michael Pittman Jr. could have easily gone in the first round. Fantastic option. But the other one here for the Colts was Jonathan Taylor, a running back out of Wisconsin, I want to say, and he was amazing in college, and he will go straight into a loaded backfield now, which consists of Jonathan Taylor himself, Marlon Mack, Nyheim Hines, which makes you think, are one of those going to be expendable? I think Marlon Mack is now going to be expendable. Even though he is great, I still think that they will now move on from him, knowing that they've got Jonathan Taylor, who could easily grow into one of the best running backs in the National Football League. And I think the Colts will jump at the chance to get some picks back or get some good value for Marlon Mack. Now, moving on for the Jacksonville Jaguars, they selected C.J. Henderson with the 9th overall pick, cornerback out of Florida. Fantastic, was going to be a guaranteed first-round pick last in 2019. So he didn't play as much last year. He played most of the season with an injury, but he was still really, really good. And I think Jacksonville got themselves an absolute monster with the 9th overall pick, and will hopefully help them replace the void left by departed in a trade to the Los Angeles Rams, Jalen Ramsey. Now moving on to the AFC West, the Kansas City Chiefs, I had them. They selected Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 32 overall, and I think that this pick is actually their best one. 63rd overall, they took Willie Gay Jr., linebacker out of Mississippi State. Has some off-the-field issues, but when he's on the field and focused, he is really, really good and will help a poor linebacker group that was with Anthony Hitchens, Dorian O'Daniel, Reggie Ragland. It was a really bad linebacking core, but Willie Gay Jr. will probably come in and start right away and help them at the linebacking core. And for the Broncos at number 15, they selected Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver out of Alabama. Fantastic wide receiver here, number 2 on my board in the entire class, and will instantly be a fantastic complement to Courtland Sutton. And the Broncos also selected KJ Hamler in the 2nd round, wide receiver out of Penn State, and I think that their wide receiver group is sorted now. It makes Deshaun Hamilton almost expendable, and I don't think they'll keep him much longer. They'll try and trade him away and get some value. But I think Jerry Jeudy is a monster, and I think he could develop into an absolute beast. Drew Lock is now lock and loaded, ready for the season. I think the Broncos are getting primed to have one of the best offenses in the National Football League and take off next year. Now moving on to the Las Vegas Raiders. I always call them Oakland Raiders. I'm still making a mistake. We'll get there eventually, guys. But with their best pick, I had them take in Henry Ruggs III at 12th overall out of Alabama. Great wide receiver, will take the top of the defense. I hate it when people say he's just speed. He's not. He's way more than that. He's got fantastic hands, great awareness, knows how to get away from the corner. I had him mocked as my number 3 wide receiver in this class. He ended up being the first wide receiver taken off the board. The Raiders got themselves a solid complement of Tyrell Williams and Zay Jones, but I think Zay Jones is a bit expendable now. But Hunter Renfrow as well, who's coming out. He was out of Clemson last year. His rookie year was last year, and he was good. But I think the Raiders got themselves a solid player in Henry Ruggs III. Now moving on for the Los Angeles Chargers. This one could have been Kenneth Murray, but I went with the obvious one. 6th overall, they selected Justin Herbert, a quarterback out of Oregon. I didn't rate him too highly, but I know that people do think Justin Herbert is one of the best players in this class. And I think he's got some issues. He's got some inconsistency and accuracy issues. He knows he's got the power in his arm, but he needs to learn when to make certain throws. He needs to know how powerful he needs to make the throws. And he needs to actually get it in the hands of his receivers. He's got some fantastic receivers there in Los Angeles with Hunter Henry at tight end, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. They've got a great receiving core. And I think Justin Herbert is getting ready to prove himself for the Chargers. Anthony Lynn came out today and said that Tyrod Taylor will be starting week 1 and that Justin Herbert will be competing for the starting job. So who knows, Justin Herbert could come in mid-season and take off and do well. As well, they have Austin Eckler at running back, sorry guys, and I think he will be amazing for him. Now moving on to the NFC East, the Eagles, in my opinion, had the worst draft out of any team. And with the 21st pick, they selected Jalen Reagor, a wide receiver out of TCU. They needed a wide receiver, and they decided to go for Jalen Reagor. I personally think Justin Jefferson is more of a slot receiver, but I don't think they'd have tried to play him in the slot. But Denzel Mims was available, and Denzel Mims didn't go until the second round. And I think that Denzel Mims is better than Jalen Reagor. I'm not going over Jalen Reagor here. He's still a good player, but I just don't think he's as good as Denzel Mims. And I think this was a really average pick. And the Eagles selected Jalen Hurts, 53rd overall. I still don't understand what their thought process is. I know they were getting a bit of security for Carson Wentz, who was always injured, but still, Jalen Hurts in the second round, that is a reach if I've ever seen one before, because I had him pegged as a 4th round talent. I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to be great in the NFL, but who am I to say? I'm just a fan. At the 17th overall pick, the Dallas Cowboys selected CeeDee Lamb. If you want to check out my video on the Dallas Cowboys from yesterday, I will leave a link to it in the description so you guys can check that out. And I think CeeDee Lamb was a fantastic pick, number 1 wide receiver in the class, in my opinion. And he fell to 17th for the Dallas Cowboys. I cannot believe that. Their offense is now absolutely loaded. Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and now CeeDee Lamb. Insanity. The Dallas Cowboys are primed and ready to go in 2020, I think. Now with the 4th overall pick for the Giants, this is their best pick. They selected Andrew Thomas, an offensive tackle out of Georgia. I think this is a good pick. I still think there was better tackles on the board, such as Mekhi Becton and Jedrick Wills, and even Tristan Wirfs. I think Tristan Wirfs was better, even though he went at number 13 to the Buccaneers. But I think that Andrew Thomas is solid. He's going to help Daniel Jones succeed, and he's also going to help Saquon Barkley be better than he can be. As you can tell, my favourite player. I think Saquon Barkley is the best running back in the National Football League on his best day, and I think that's what this pick will help him become and finally show and prove himself to be the best in the NFL. Now moving on, the Washington Redskins, they selected Chase Young, 2nd overall defensive end out of Ohio State. Best player in the class, and what a pick here for the Washington Redskins. Can't miss talent and will instantly turn that defense around. And he's the type of player that he's so good that he'll make all the players around him now even better. So I think Montez Sweat, Chase Young, Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen, who else is on that defense? Matthew Ioannidis, and even Ryan Kerrigan. That front 7 is looking amazing for the Washington Redskins, and I think they are getting ready to take off. Now moving on, for the NFC North, the Packers are another team that also had a really, really questionable draft. They traded up to 26 and selected Jordan Love, quarterback out of Utah State, which means they value Jordan Love as their quarterback of the future, and they might be ready to move on from Aaron Rodgers sooner than we think. And I think Jordan Love is a good quarterback. He's very raw talent. He's got a lot of work to do to put him in at the next level, and I think he will be amazing for Green Bay. If it's any team that's going to make him good, it's going to be Green Bay. They've been spoiled for quarterbacks over the years. Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and now Jordan Love. Is Jordan Love going to be the guy that helps the Packers succeed? Now moving on to the Minnesota Vikings. At 22 overall, they selected Justin Jefferson, wide receiver out of LSU. Another one of my favourite players coming out of college. Monstrous season in the slot, 1,500 yards. I think it was about 16 touchdowns as well. Insane season, over 111 receptions. I think it was 111. Insane season, and I think the Minnesota Vikings just picked him up an absolute monster to go alongside Adam Thielen on that wide receiver group after Stephon Diggs has been traded to the Buffalo Bills. Now moving on to the next one. The Chicago Bears, with the 50th overall pick, selected Jalen Johnson, a cornerback out of Utah. This is a fantastic pick. I think I had him pegged going in the first round to the Minnesota Vikings at 22, which is one I got wrong. But I think he was a fantastic player, and I know he's got some injury worries, but I think he's a first-round talent, one of the best cornerbacks in this class. And straight away after this, at 51, the Dallas Cowboys selected Trayvon Diggs. So it was a cornerback toss-up. Reggie Robinson out of Tulsa went later on. But I think Jalen Johnson, it was the best cornerback available on the board, because I think Jalen Johnson is better than Trayvon Diggs. But on the board, he looks great, and I think he will be a mainstay on that Chicago Bears defense that is crying out for a cornerback after getting rid of Prince Amukamara. And Buster Screen is still on the team, I think, but he's really bad. So he will help them. on that defense improve a lot. And now moving on to another cornerback, the Detroit Lions selected Jeffrey Okudah, 3rd overall, out of Ohio State. And I think he is great. Best cornerback in the class. He's going to be the Darius Slay replacement. As I say about Jeffrey Okudah all the time, perfect build for a cornerback, and I think he will be an absolute mainstay on this defense and will help alongside Desmond Trufant and other cornerbacks and DBs on that team. But I think he will be amazing for Detroit for years to come. Now moving on, the New Orleans Saints. They selected Cesar Ruiz, a centre out of Michigan. This is my best pick for them. Will probably play a lot as Eric McCoy last year, centre. Played really, really well as a rookie, but they just extended Andres Pete to a deal. And who's the other guard? I can't remember who their other guard is, but now Cesar Ruiz will come in and he will help instantly and be really good. He's a solid offensive lineman, my number 1 centre in the class, and I think he's great. This could have easily been Zach Bourne, who is an edge rusher out of Zach Bourne, Wisconsin, and he went in the 3rd round, I believe. And I had Zach Bourne with a 1st round grade, and he went in the 3rd round to the New Orleans Saints. Was an absolute steal, one of the biggest steals in the class. I'll be doing a video on that soon as well. The biggest steals of the 2020 NFL draft. And moving on now to the Atlanta Falcons. They selected AJ Terrell 16th overall, but I don't think he was their best pick. I believe their best pick was Marlon Davidson, an edge out of Auburn, with the 47th overall selection. Fantastic value, who will come in and instantly start on that defensive line, probably as a defensive tackle. He was forced to play edge because of the rise of Derek Brown and other defensive tackles on that team, and he was great coming off the edge. Just imagine how good he'll be at defensive tackle. I think he'll be kicked inside for the Falcons and will play alongside Grady Jarrett and be amazing on that defense. Now moving on to the next one, the Buccaneers swung a trade with the 49ers to move up 1 spot and select Tristan Wirfs, an offensive tackle out of Iowa. More protection for Tom Brady, which is what the Buccaneers fans wanted to see. I'm going to be doing a video on the Buccaneers soon. That will probably be coming out next week or this week at some point. So look forward to that. And I think Tristan Wirfs, in my opinion, was my number 1 tackle on the board. He was the best tackle in this class, I think. And to pick him up at 13 for Tampa Bay is insane. I think he's going to be a Pro Bowler, possibly All-Pro. Watch some tape on Tristan Wirfs. I think he is phenomenal, and I think he will be phenomenal for Tampa Bay. Now moving on. Carolina Panthers recorded an all-defense draft, which you don't see very often. They went all in on the defense, assuming they think the offense is fine, with Curtis Samuel, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Christian McCaffrey, Teddy Bridgewater, and they got a decent offensive line. So it goes to show that they are happy with what they've got on offense, and they went all in on defense, which is why I have their best pick as Derek Brown. Defense tackle out of Auburn, they took 7th overall. One of my favourite players in this class. I think Derek Brown is going to be amazing, can play anywhere on the defensive line, can play 3-4 end, can play the nose, or can play just a 4-3 defensive tackle. I think he's quality. I think he's going to be amazing. Fantastic value at number 7. I had him as my number 3 player in the class. And great value at 7 by the Carolina Panthers. And I am very excited to see how he does in the NFC South against the opposing quarterbacks he's got to come up against, such as Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, Tom Brady, 3 of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. And he has to come up against them 2 times a year each. So we will have to see what happens there for that Carolina defense. Now moving on to the final division, the NFC West. The San Francisco 49ers, I was going to put Brandon Ayuk, who they selected 25th overall out of Arizona State, but I changed my mind. I went with Javon Kinlaw, a defensive tackle out of Southern Carolina, who they took 14th overall and will be the obvious DeForest Buckner replacement, who was traded to the Indianapolis Colts for the 13th overall selection. And I think Javon Kinlaw is good. I actually had him mocked to the 49ers, which was a move that was gaining traction as the week was going on. And I think the 49ers are extremely happy with this pick. Their first round was amazing, getting Javon Kinlaw at 14 and then getting Brandon Ayuk at 25. Fantastic for the San Francisco 49ers, and I think they will continue their amazing run of how good they were last year and do that again this year. Now moving on to 48, the Seattle Seahawks, in my opinion, had the worst pick in the first round in Jordan Brooks, and I think that this is their best pick, 48th overall. Darrell Taylor, an edge out of Tennessee, great edge. I can't remember his stats off the top of my head, but he was good, and they need an edge after Jadeveon Clowney has departed, and I'm not sure if Ziggy Ansah is still there, but he isn't very good anymore. He's not as good as he used to be. But Darrell Taylor will be an instant factor. He's got to be better than LJ Collier, who was a huge bust, who they took last year in the first round, who is not very good at all. The Seahawks have made some really questionable moves in the first round, but they always tend to stay consistent. And I think Darrell Taylor in the second round here is going to be a great pick for him and help the Seahawks remain competitive in the NFC West. Now moving on to the Los Angeles Rams, didn't have too many picks. I know they selected Cam Akers in the second round, but here I have them selected, their best pick was Terrell Lewis, an edge out of Alabama who they took 84th overall. Phenomenal value, one of the best edge in this class, I think, and easily could have gone in the first round, late first round, but he ended up falling to 84. This is a fantastic selection for the Los Angeles Rams, who need help coming off the edge after Clay Matthews has just been released. Dante Fowler is no longer there, so they need some help, and I think that's exactly what Terrell Lewis is going to be, and I think he's going to play a lot coming to the start of the season. Now moving on for the Arizona Cardinals, 8th overall they selected Isaiah Simmons, a linebacker slash safety out of Clemson, the most versatile player in this class, and I think he's going to be amazing for the Cardinals, who kind of shocked us a bit. I thought they were going to go with an offensive tackle, but they went with Isaiah Simmons, who was the best player on the board at the time. Don't know if it's good value. Some people could have possibly seen him falling out of the top 10, even top 15, but Isaiah Simmons went to the Cardinals at 8. He can play linebacker, he can play safety, he can play cornerback, he can play defensive end, he can play anywhere. As he said, if you think you're getting 53 players on the roster, with Isaiah Simmons you're getting 56. He's so versatile, and that is obviously going to help the Cardinals going forward an absolute ton. So yeah, that's it for today's video, guys. I know it's a long one, but please like and subscribe and turn on notifications so you never ever miss a video, because over 75% of you guys that watch these videos aren't subscribed. So please subscribe and help me grow into a bigger channel. And I can't stop making these videos. The videos are so fun to make, and I will probably be back tomorrow with a video on maybe the best and worst picks of the first round, or my Buccaneers video. It's going to be any one of those two tomorrow, so look forward to that. My Cowboys video will be linked in the description, so you can go check that out from yesterday. And yeah, so I will be back tomorrow with more 2020 NFL draft content, and see you later, guys.